So because in our language there isn't even a word for disability. It's something that's not talked about as much, it's just accepted. So trying to get people to now talk about their disability and what they need without any shame and contributing via art is huge for me. Aboriginal art is one of the oldest art movements in the world, and it's been going for thousands and thousands of years, and it's still going. It's survived everything, and to be part of that's huge. So my name's Paul Calcott. In parts of my community and communities I work in, I'm known as Uncle Paul because I'm getting pretty old now, but my work around disability business. I'm a Wiradjuri man on my father's side. His mob's from around central New South Wales, around Bathurst. And my mum, she was an Irish woman, and she grew up in a little place called Tinga, which is in Gamilaroi country. So, and she was an Irish woman, but always very, very proud of our Aboriginal culture and our connection, and always made us very aware of our connection, our spiritual connection to this country. And 12 years ago, I moved up here to Queensland, now living on Gubbi Gubbi country. But I moved up here to warmer weather, subtropics. I contracted polio when I was a little kid, and the warmer weather up here is better for my legs and helps me sort of get around a bit better. I've always loved painting. I painted at school. Art was my favourite subject. And I had some great art teachers. I was so out there and just help you express yourself. And I used to paint as a kid. I found some old paintings recently, actually, that I did when I was about 12. And I would paint things like terrace houses and stuff that was relevant for me. I would paint things in the garden, some local landscapes and that as well. But as I got older, I always wanted to really paint traditional style. I wanted to paint the style of my father's people, and I wanted to start expressing that. And it just came into my head. I just felt this urge, and it just changed my life. And I absolutely love painting. And every day, every time I paint a new painting is a new experience for me. And it's led me on this amazing journey ever since. Painting's given me the opportunity to start a group for other artists living with disabilities, and to be part of people's lives changing, and to be part of that has been a huge experience for me. It's opened up a whole new area of disabilities and how to communicate with and support people with disabilities in using art and storytelling and helping people tell their story. And I think that's one of the things that I started painting, I was guided to paint for, because it's given me the chance to sit down with people who have the inability to discuss things with government bodies about what they need and supports and services, but translating it through art and using art to tell the story has opened up a whole new way. And a lot of government bodies now looking at, wow, this is a great way to communicate with people around disabilities. And a lot of people come in and say, oh, I can't paint, or I've never painted, or I have no artistic ability. But I think if you're connected culturally, it's there. It's just creating that avenue to bring it out. And I've seen people start off doing very, very simple things, but just grow. And once they feel confident and start to want to tell their story and not paint to please other people and what other people's expectations of what art looks like, I've just seen them grow and blossom and create beautiful, beautiful pieces that tell their story. I really feel that art culturally is an incredible part of First Peoples culture. For a start, our language isn't a written language. We didn't use written words. We used art. It was like our version of hieroglyphics. We used art to tell the stories, to communicate different stories. It was used on country to warn people of different things, to map out where there was water holes, and the symbols meant different things to different people. So it was almost like a secret type thing as well. So if you went in and if you weren't part of that nation, you may not know what that means as to where the fresh water is. But it's a way of telling stories down thousands and thousands of years. And that's why people actually hand down the rights to paint particular stories to family members to keep that story going. So it's a massive part in keeping a correct history of our culture and our language. And the beauty of it is too, even though there was 250, 300 language groups, maybe up to 600 language groups in this country before colonisation, because there wasn't a written language, but the art, a lot of the symbols still transcended across all those different cultures in order to communicate and talk to people. So to me, culturally, the art is very, very significant in keeping stories going, keeping accurate history and communicating with people. And it's like the commonality that we have. Whenever I go into communities, the first place I go to is the art groups and the art centres. And immediately there's this connection when you talk art, because it's very, very, very strong connection culturally to our spirit in the art and the telling the stories, and that's why it's important to keep it going and keeping it alive. And it's changing a little bit with we're in the 21st century. Our young ones coming through using different mediums, but they're still keeping the stories happening, and to me that's incredibly important. One story I can share about a young man that came along to our group to start to paint. He had an acquired brain injury and had very much like cerebral palsy type look. If you saw him, you'd think he had cerebral palsy. And he was an angry young man. He was very angry with the world and what was going on. But he came along and he sat down and started to paint. And the first time he tried to paint, he used his fingers to do like dot painting. And he ended up painting like a little house with chimney coming out, something a little 6 or 7-year-old child would do. And but he was quite passionate about it, and the concentration he was doing and the colour. So we sat him down with an uncle who was a beautiful artist and has since passed. Again, I think he's one of the ancestors and spirits that's still there guiding us. And he showed this young man how to paint using his disability. He showed him how to put sponges on the ends of his hands and do the backgrounds, to put paintbrushes on the end of sticks, and just to really start to express himself. And just seeing this young man, when he was able to do that and get it out and into paintings he was creating, changed his life. He found a way to express himself. And he's one of the recent art exhibition, one of his paintings sold for just over $2,000, and we sat it next to the little one he first did, and it was just amazing to see how this young man had grown and the way he expressed himself. And even his mum says he's not as angry as he used to be, because through art he's connecting to his culture. He feels he's contributing, and he has this way to express how he feels. And so that's an example of how painting and that way to express yourself can change someone's life who had trouble expressing themselves in the past, who couldn't speak properly and just couldn't get out what they wanted to say. And here's this young man that did it and turned it into beautiful pieces of art that other people enjoyed and got pleasure out of, and gave him standing in the community as an artist, not as a person with a disability, but someone who's actually contributing. Aboriginal art is one of the oldest art movements in the world. And it's been going for thousands and thousands of years, and it's still going. It's survived everything. And every part of that's huge. So I think, to me, art is a way that so many cultures express themselves. In dance, it's not just painting, but art is dance and theatre and poetry expression. So all cultures have that form that they express themselves through their art. And I couldn't imagine a culture without art.